What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful fight fans across the world? And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the top 5 fighters, the greatest fighters that will never be champions again. All of these fighters were champions in the past, but now they're probably, even though I hate to say this word, be gatekeepers of their division, be gatekeepers of the top 5. Most likely never touch gold again. Any of these guys could go on a crazy run and touch gold again, but I don't think it's likely, my boys. I don't think it's likely. Let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into the list. In the 5th spot, well, we have Robert Whittaker, who just lost to Khamzat Chimaev. And I wonder who would pick Khamzat Chimaev. I wonder who picked Khamzat Chimaev against Robert Whittaker. What a terrible pick. In hindsight is 2020. All right, horrible pick. Who would pick Khamzat Chimaev? Who would pick Robert Whittaker? I can't believe anybody would pick him, and that's just a terrible matchup for Robert Whittaker. But Robert Whittaker, great fighter, great champion, but most likely never gonna touch a belt ever again. He lost to DDP, then he bounced back against Paulo Costa, beat Ikram, and then recently lost again to Khamzat Chimaev. If he went out there and beat Khamzat Chimaev last Saturday, I would have believed. I would have been like, Robert Whittaker, he's coming for that belt. The Reaper's coming back for that gold. But it's not looking likely, my boys. No more. After he broke his jaw too, that's not a good sign. All right, that is not a great sign. But Robert Whittaker, such a great fighter, such a great champion, such a great guy. He has to get a spot on this list because he's one of the greatest active fighters right now in the UFC. That was a champion that will probably never be champion again. In the 4th spot, we have the Gyno Bender, Israel Adesanya. All right, we have Izzy Adesanya. Him in the cage, he puts on some decent performances. Okay, I can't say great because he can go out there and knock out Alex Pereira, or he can go have a pitter-pat, tit-for-tat fight with Jared Cannonier and Marvin Vettori. But recently, you have to give Israel Adesanya this. He's put on some decent performances. He didn't look great in the Sean Strickland fight, but in the DDP fight, even though he did eventually lose, get clipped, and then get subbed, he did look great leading up to that. It was looking like Izzy was about to take over, and then DDP got him. And just the fact that Israel Adesanya lost to Sean Strickland, lost to DDP, even though he beat Alex Pereira right before that, he lost to Alex Pereira. I think it's the mental. The mental's gonna get to bro. And who do I see him bouncing back against? Maybe a Caio Baraiho. Maybe that would be a good matchup. I think he has a great chance of beating Caio Baraiho. But do I think he will ever touch UFC gold again? Out of this whole list, he's definitely one of the more likely guys to ever be a champion again. But do I think it's gonna happen? Sadly, no. I don't think so. Or maybe not sadly. All right, because we can sometimes sometimes the Gyno Bender shows up, but then sometimes we get the pitter patter, titter for tatter. Israel Adesanya just outpointing people for 5 rounds. Not fun fights. But when Israel Adesanya does come and he does perform, hey, yo, let me just say that. Hey, yo, what I just said before. But when he comes and does perform, I said it again, but he puts on some great performances. He has the greatest KO over Alex Pereira. The only KO in the UFC over Alex Pereira. That's one of the best KOs of all time. Definitely top 5, top 3 KOs of all time. So Israel Adesanya, even though we don't like him outside of the cage, in the cage, you got to admit, he's a savage, my boys. Most of the time. Not most of the time. 50-50 nowadays. 50-50 nowadays. But if Israel Adesanya is fighting, though, we're all watching. Let's just say that. We're all watching. But Israel Adesanya definitely deserves a spot in this top 5, in the 4th spot. But let's move on to the 3rd spot on the list. And it's Charles do Bronx Oliveira. So Charles Oliveira, he's going to fight Michael Chandler at UFC 309. And I feel like he's going to beat Michael Chandler. I don't know. I'm really going to think and ponder about that fight because Michael Chandler's coming off a long time off. But he's going to come and fight Michael Chandler at UFC 309. That's like a fight that he already had, some guy he already beat, and he's rematching him. I don't know if that's good for his resume, okay? Because what does that do for Charles Oliveira's resume? Oh, you just beat the same guy twice. And Michael Chandler in his last 5 fights is like, what, 1-4? So it's not a great look. It's not a great look, but Charles Oliveira, if he goes out there and loses to Michael Chandler, even worse. He's definitely cooked. He's definitely not being a champ again, but Charles Oliveira, he definitely has, I think, the best chance of coming back and getting a win, but that's only if Islam Makhachev isn't champion anymore. That's the only way Charles Oliveira can touch gold again, because he definitely has I think he has a way better chance against Arman Tsarukyan than Islam Makhachev, because his fight against Arman Tsarukyan was close. Okay, we're not going to act like it wasn't close. It was close. It went split decision. One of the judges gave it to Charles Oliveira, so it was a close fight. And I feel like Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan got to run it back. I feel like they got to run it back for 5 rounds, and we'll like finally put the nail in the coffin for that dub. But if the champion is Islam Makhachev, Charles Oliveira is not touching gold. But if Islam Makhachev moves up, fights Shavkat Rakhmonov, and then Charles Oliveira gets to go up against Arman Tsarukyan for the vacant belt or something like that, I think he has a solid chance of going there and going for gold. But if the fight actually happened, I would probably pick Arman. But Charles Oliveira, come on, he's the 3rd greatest lightweight of all time. The 3rd greatest lightweight of all time. One of the best, most entertaining title reigns and runs to the championship we've ever seen. So Charles Oliveira definitely deserves a spot on this list, but how likely is it that he's going to touch gold in my opinion? Not very likely. That's the problem. It's not very likely. That's why he's on this list. But Charles Oliveira definitely deserves a spot on this list in the 3rd spot. Let's move on, my boys. Let's move on. We're going to get to the real sad ones now. Because I don't see either of these guys having a chance ever again. But in the 2nd spot, we have Max Holloway. I knew Ilia Topuria was going to beat Max Holloway. I felt like he was going to KO him. I'm pretty sure I said that in my prediction video, but did I think it was going to be that vicious of a knockout? No, it was a vicious knockout. Max Holloway got KO'd for the first time. I don't know if he's ever going to be the same again. When like that unbreakable chin gets cracked once, it really does something to some people, and I feel like it might curse Max Holloway. Hopefully not, but I feel like Max Holloway is going to move up and fight at lightweight. But how likely is it will he become a champion at lightweight? Not very likely. Even if he was still at featherweight, how likely is it that he would become a champion at featherweight? Not very likely, because Ilia Topuria is the king of the featherweights right now, and I feel like a lot of people in the lightweight division could give Max Holloway problems. Like, I feel like Charles Oliveira could give him problems. I feel like Arman Tsarukyan could give Max Holloway problems. Islam Makhachev would definitely give Max Holloway problems. Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, those are some better fights. Those are some better fights for Max Holloway, but fights like Islam, Arman, Charles, I don't think those are good fights for Max Holloway. And even though he's the 2nd greatest featherweight of all time, one of the top 10 greatest fighters of all time, I don't think the Blessed is touching the belt again. Even though I love Max Holloway, I think a lot of us love Max Holloway. We all love Jerome, okay? We all love Jerome. If you don't love Jerome, okay, like, come on, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? You're just a hater at that point. But after that knockout at UFC 308, it's going to be tough for Max Holloway to bounce back. It's going to be tough for him to ever touch gold again. And especially if he's moving up to lightweight, I don't see it happening, my boys. But at least we can have some fun BMF title fights in the meantime. Even though he is technically a champion, BMF champion, does that really matter anymore? Like, does that even really count? Is he really even the BMF anymore because he lost to Ilia Topuria? But it's just sad. It's just sad. The first spot on the list, the saddest one, Volkanovski. Okay, Volkanovski. I've already crashed out about Volkanovski too many times on this goddamn YouTube channel. Okay, because Volkanovski is one of the saddest things ever in the UFC. He goes up, fights Islam on 11 days short notice, gets KO'd. Oh my God. After he looked so great against Yair, after he looked so great against Islam, taking a short notice fight, he's still the pound for pound number 1, and he takes a short notice fight against Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev is the best fighter in the UFC right now. and you're taking 11 days short notice fight against him? What are you doing, my guy? This is Charles Oliveira's fault. Even though I love Charles Oliveira, it's all Charles Oliveira's fault that Volk took that fight. Goddamn Charles Du Bronx Oliveira, man. Goddamn. But then he goes and fights Ilia Topuria at UFC 298. Gets viciously KO'd. Even worse than the Islam KO because he goes out cold. He eats the biggest shot from Ilia Topuria. Looked great for the first round, but then Ilia Topuria just caught him with the meanest shot. Oh my god. If any version of Volkanovski gets caught with that shot, he's going out. But Volkanovski, if he just locked in, if he just tapped in, just stayed, who knows what his career would have been right now? Who knows how far his career would have gone? Who knows what would be of right now? But we can't talk about what can be. We have to talk about what is. And Volkanovski is on a two fight KO streak. He's probably gonna fight Ilia Topuria next, which I hate. Why is he gonna fight Ilia Topuria next? Go fight Aljamain Sterling and the winner of Aljamain Sterling, Movsar Evloev. Please. Why do you want to get KO'd by Ilia again so bad? Get a tune-up fight at least. In the meantime, you do not need to fight Ilia Topuria right now. Let Diego Lopez fight Ilia Topuria right now. It's just Volk, man. Volk is just, out of this whole list, Volk makes me the saddest because he had the most potential to be he is an all-time great, top 10 fighter of all time. But every performance he has now where he's just gonna get knocked out by Ilia again, it's just taking him down the list farther and farther, which I hate to say, but it's true. We have to speak about facts. But let me know down below, do you agree with my top 5? Is there anybody I missed of past champions or great fighters that are never gonna touch gold in the UFC? Preferably old champions. Just give me an example of an old champion. But that's it for this video. I'll see you. Oh, leave a like, subscribe. Don't forget about that. But I'll see you, beautiful people. And let me know if you like the new editing style. Sorry. But I'll see you, beautiful people, in the next one, man.